Welcome everybody to this vlog. Now this is a very special one because my good friend Walter Jennings, who actually just left Huawei, is onto something very big. He's starting a very cool and very promising podcast. So he actually asked me for some of my learning, for some of my insights, how to get started, how to produce, how to distribute. So with his permission, I actually recorded the phone call so you can also learn how to do this, because I really think some of you who already asked me all of these questions and I never had a real answer and place to go to, now I can show you this video, and I really hope you enjoy it because I think there's a lot of juicy and insightful stuff that helps everybody who wants to get started with vlogging, podcasting, or any kind of content, and what you should be considering when you start it. So make sure to watch this all the way till the end because Walter is a great guy, and if you are watching this now, mark it that you watched it, because in a year to 2 years he will be very, very famous. Thank you so much and enjoy this video. Hey Walter.
Hey Cédric, how are you?
How are you? Good, thank you very much. Walk me through like your thoughts. I've read your email and I have some of my thoughts that I maybe can share my learnings in my process, in my career so far.
So look, it's fairly straightforward. So I have a business to fall back on. My husband and I bought a business called Asia Insight Circle, and it's a CEO network. It is a business that I have been wanting to focus more time and attention on. So I'll be doing that.
Yeah.
Second is I'm actually joining a management consultancy. And all they do is strategic communication. So It's a nice fit. And with that management consultancy, they really want help with influencer relations. So I figured that a way to keep my brand alive, or to keep the connection alive, is to once a week interview a different influencer and get their insights into how they got started, what lessons they've learned, how they've grown and changed the way they approach the business based on their experience, and also what are some of the practices so that corporations can work with them better. So what are the things that companies do right and what are the things that companies can do better? So that's the thinking behind it. But one of the areas that I'm struggling is kind of everything I've read on podcasting says create a formula, create an approach, have a style, have a, kind of a show outline. And I wanted to get the thinking from you with regards to how you develop that. Plus, of course, any obvious beginner, do not repeat my rookie mistake.
Sure. I mean, there's always two things that I say. Number one is the target audience that I definitely did wrong in the beginning. I very late, I would say almost a year into my content creation career, I only really defined who I wanted to reach. If you don't do that, then you'll kind of listen to every feedback that comes across you, and it will be very hard to iterate and understand like what is actually important and what is not important. I only want to reach startup investors. That's kind of like my niche where I want to be. People who are interested in startups, tech, and innovation. That's the people I want to reach. So if someone comes to me totally out of this zone, then feedback is much easier to handle, especially if it's negative. And for me, that's only when the conversations really started to be fruitful with investors, when I started to ask them like, hey guys, I'm making these videos anyways. This is something I'm doing anyway. So why don't you tell me what would you like to hear in these videos that would be relevant to you? So for me, an investor would like to hear about the team. They would like to hear about the person who is the CEO, the founder, why, the who, the why, and what they're doing. And that's kind of like how we built the structure of the videos. Okay? So that's the first point. And I didn't do that for a long time. I would say the first 50 videos I did from my gut feeling because I thought it was a good idea. Now I can tell from season 2 that like we have our show, a concept of our show that is targeted towards investors. Now, if you, Walter, are not interested in startups, but you're interested in my show, you're still welcome to watch it, but it's focused on people who are interested in startup investing. So that's what I can recommend you. If you say like, you want to build this podcast for a specific type of persona that is going to listen, then go out and ask them. I suggest to make 3 to 4 recordings based on your gut feelings, just because it's much easier to reach out to these people when you have something in your hand. But don't wait for 50 videos like I did.
No, that's important. In fact, I was having lunch today with Faye McLaughlin.
Yes.
And he was saying how important it is to really think about the audience and who you're trying to reach, because obviously I want to reach influencers because I want them to appear on the show. I want them to think that I know what I'm talking about. But more importantly, that I need to reach corporations that want to work with influencers. So kind of a how-to guide. It's part of my branding to be seen, because there aren't as many people who know how to do influencer relation. It's kind of a good niche.
I would say what I try to do is like to provide the entrepreneurs that I feature on the show with the best possible experience. Especially for the startup show, we come to their offices, we do all the recording, we try to take it the least amount of time needed to give them maximum exposure. We really try to give like the best experience so they want to be on the show. And on the other hand, we have the investors. Many corporates get that wrong. If your target audience are corporate, or let's say executives who are in the marketing or communication department, and that's just a much smaller chunk of people than, let's say, you want to reach everybody. So I always try to explain people, and that's probably the hardest part of my job, is views are important, impressions are important, but if you can reach the 10 people that you want to reach, and they give you a call after and book you, then you reach your goal. Whether you have 1,000 views or only 15 views, doesn't really matter if you have 10 emails at the end of the show. I really try to focus on getting the right people to listen to my or watch my videos versus just going for scale only. Not saying it's not important, but I'm saying it's not the highest priority.
I hear what you're saying. 5 of the right people are better than 500 of the wrong.
Right. If you want to become the next Casey Neistat or Gary Vaynerchuk or stuff like this, it's getting harder and harder with YouTube and Facebook and stuff like this, that they know who they make big and who don't. So like, if you focus on your niche and you become the best at that, then I think that's the best bet.
Now, can I ask you kind of a branding question? I have selected a name of kind of influencers today. And the reason I chose that is that it's not currently taken. There are not many shows out there that talk about influence. I initially liked the idea of people of influence, but that's actually registered and you can't get the domain name, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't really want to create a brand around the name of the podcast. But I suppose for the podcast itself, it has to have its own branding.
Again, like, this is what you feel more comfortable with. I mean, like, I've heard many times, like, you should have built the name Cédric Bollag and not Global Tech Box as a video platform. And then there are people who say, like, no, we want to have, like, a separate brand that, I don't know, for example, like, you can make it to a company, you can sell it if you feel like it's time to sell, You can't sell your name. So if you're building something around your name, then it's hard to sell that at some point. That's something that you have to feel like comfortable with. I don't think there's a right and wrong for that.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, because when you're in public relations, you're never used to being the headline. So you're always used to being the one behind the headline
yes.
Who's making it happen. So I would never feel comfortable with anything named Walter Jennings.
I call the startup show hosted by Cédric Bollag, implying that, like, I'm the host. What can I say? I'm the moderator in these videos. There's not much I can do about this. One of the key things that I learned over the time as a moderator, it's absolutely crucial that you let the other guy speak. And that led to a situation by me. I have so many things I would like to add to the answers of the entrepreneurs, but I have to hold myself back because it's an absolute no-go to be saying your opinion as a moderator. What I started to do is the vlog where I actually can talk about my opinion. And that's something that maybe you also want to think about, something where you can express what you want to say versus the interviews you're conducting with influencers.
You're right. I do have a tendency to talk over people, and I need to check that. I did register influencerstoday.com, so that's where I can put related content around the interviews or around the subject matter and blog the hell out of it, and then also hang the podcasts there as well, or
yes.
Give it a home. As far as the personal brand, back again, my artwork that I sent you does say Influencers Today with Walter Jennings. I looked at a lot of podcasts, and a lot of them do feature the photograph of the individual. And I just didn't feel comfortable with that. But I think as you said, go with your gut, what feels right.
For sure, podcast has the big advantage over video to be able to do it basically from anywhere to anywhere. So, you can go on a Skype call, you can record a regular phone conversation. You're basically ready to go versus I have to be physically in the place, which has its advantages. Like, you meet the people in person, people who see you on social associate you with a big network, but it's much more effort.
I certainly remember from our various get-togethers that when you do a video, it's a lot of work, and I am paying attention on the production side. I've done an enormous amount of research with regards to the equipment. I've got post-production sorted. I do know how much easier a podcast is than a vidcast. Hey, let me ask you a question about length of time. How did you determine what time to make these things, and what have you learned in the course of your career that makes it better or worse?
Again, it's the same as I said in the beginning in terms of like attention span of your target audience. I always felt that like if I want to make a 1-minute video that has the potential of virality, I cannot go into depth at all when I talk to these entrepreneurs. If I make a 5-minute video, it's still way too short to be authentic. So these people, like, they're trained to give me their pitch, they're trained to introduce themselves, but you only get the full picture of an entrepreneur, I feel, after, let's say, the first 6-7 minutes of talking. And that's when they open up. That's when they actually tell me insights and not just like what they're rehearsed 200,000 times because they gave the pitch how many times already. So yes, I mean, like when you ask like these viral specialists, they all tell you, yeah, you have to have like 1-minute videos. But again, my videos are on purpose much longer because I want to go into depth with these people. I want to understand more of their industry expertise versus just to hear their standard 2 lines of their startup. I make long form content and then I recycle it in a way that it can be used again on social. So we have like the long form content of 15 to 30 minutes. And then we use every single question separately as another video to publish, I would say 3-4 months later again. We have the startup show, which is our long form content. And then we have the gems of wisdom, where we basically use every single question separately. So you can think of maybe a way that you can structure your show or your podcast and your conversations. Did you know already in the beginning how you're going to split it up into, various amounts of audio content that you can then distribute across your social media channels?
In fact, that's one of the things I'm looking at doing, which is creating kind of a set of similar questions that, were 3 or 4 kind of major topic areas that I will cover off in every interview, but that gives me room to wiggle in case the conversation goes elsewhere. But I will bring it back. So that way, that's a good idea.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we do also. We have a standard pool of about 20-25 questions. And then we mix them up. And every time I ask 5 different questions, and then we say like top 5 advice from entrepreneurs. And then we have a new video. That's also why I decided to do videos, because basically from video, you can deduct everything else. You can have a podcast, you can have images, you can have everything that you need around, your social media strategy, literally cover every potential of interest that like your target audience has, whether it's video, audio, text, or image. There's one app or one website that I actually have a subscription for. It's called Pippa.io, Pippa.io. And they are amazing for podcast distribution. So you sign up, you connect like your iTunes, your Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, and everything. You upload your file and it gets automatically distributed to all of these places. That's what I do with the startup show.
What other kind of beginner's advice that you have been thinking about since I sent you this email?
The only thing I can think of is the importance of the audio quality. I see in my videos, especially in the beginning, people are much more sensitive to audio than to the visual. So like they might still watch a video that has bad visuals, but they would not watch a video with bad audio. Really try to see how you can leverage that somehow. Maybe you want to consider that like you have the influencer recorded on a separate phone and then send you the file or something like this. because I think that's something worthwhile to take into consideration when you have a podcast, that the audio quality must be very high.
My ambition, which is get 2 or 3 done, post-edited, produced, and ready before I'm thinking of even distributing the first one. So that way I kind of get all
Absolutely.
the mistakes
Yes.
made in advance. And
I'm happy to help you with that, and you can definitely have access to my team to try that. And if you need help with this is definitely something I can help you with.
well, thank you, Cédric. That's very kind of you. What kind of help do you mean?
No, like if you want to have the first 2 or 3 podcasts produced and edited, then you can send me the files, and I'll do that for free for you. And then you'll say, and we can do the learnings together.
That's really nice. You're the first person I called to say help, because I really respect your work.
Thank you.
And I've seen you in action, and I know you care about the quality of your product. And not saying that others don't, but I just have the most kind of hands-on experience with you. So that's why I called you today.
Thank you so
right
much.
when I'm at the start.
So yeah, like I remember our start, and I was lucky to be very, very young. And like for me, that was kind of like the basics. I never worked for like a big corporate like per se. So for me, that was like kind of like the way it's done. So. But now looking back, I can see how painful it was and how easy some of my friends had it, like that just worked like the 9-to-5 corporate jobs. I definitely feel with you. And if there's anything, as I said before already, that I can share with you in terms of knowledge or experience or help you, hands-on, then just send me a message.
Well, you know where I'm going to ask just for thoughts, and it's not today, but in time, is how I...
Distribution. I mean, in one sentence, it's patience. Gary Vee says it takes 24 months. Doesn't matter how quick you are or how good you are, it just takes patience. It's a lot of one-on-one conversations, a lot of emailing, be human, but you are very good at that.
I'm 2 steps ahead.
Definitely. For me, like I always thought there is like some shortcut you can take, but it's basically building these relationships with these startup investors one by one over the course of the last almost 3 years.
Well, that's fabulous, Cédric, and congratulations. I'm thrilled to hear and continue watching and listening and learning and see.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your advice has been really helpful. I've got like 5 or 6 things severely underlined in my notes that I'm going to follow up on, but
okay, so Walter, let me know again, as I said, as usual, if there's anything where to reach me. And I wish you, a lot of success and patience and luck. Most importantly, it's still health and family, so never to forget that. I'm happy to be on this journey with you and everybody else.
Okay, mate. Well, listen, I appreciate that, and thank you so much. And I'll be back with you soon, and we'll see where this goes.
Perfect. Have a great day or evening. Bye.
Okay, bye.